Hi, this is Tom from WMT, and today I'm going to go through the 6 essential bar chords you need to know on guitar. So grab your guitar and get ready to learn the 6 chord shapes that will give you the tools to unlock a world of songs to be played. There's something first you need to be aware about bar chords. It's important to know that the bar chords that you'll actually play are based around open chord shapes, shapes which you may already know. Today I'll be looking at the shapes of E major, E minor, E7, then A major, A minor and A7. So being familiar with these open chords and being able to visualise them as you move on to playing bar chords will be a big help to you. So it'd be a good idea to brush up on those chords if you feel the need to. There are a few reasons why you should know bar chords and spend some time learning them. At times you might need a different voicing for a chord. In other words, playing the same chord in a different place on the fretboard to get a different sound. And at other times you'll need to play bar chords because there simply isn't a way to play the chord that you need in open position. There are lots of other bar chords that you could learn in addition to the ones I'll go through today. But to begin with, just knowing these 6 open shapes and the bar chords that they produce when you move them will enable you to play the chords to a huge amount of songs. Let's take the E major open chord shape to begin with. If we play this chord in open position, as you will likely play it first, second and third finger, we'll move all our fingers along one. So the first becomes the second now becomes the third, and the third now becomes the fourth, the little finger. Keep playing the same notes as you were. You're now just playing them with different fingers. We need to keep the same relative shape of this chord as we move. In other words, we need to keep the distances between our fingers and where the note is on the guitar intact. Now let's move to a different place on the fretboard with this same shape. I'm going to move this shape so my fingers land on the 6th and 7th frets. Then I'm going to use my first finger and cover all the strings behind that at the 5th fret. This chord, using the E major shape and barring at the 5th fret, has now become an A major chord. To know the root note of this chord, look at the note you're playing on the low E string. In this case, with my finger at the 5th fret, it'll be an A major. Let's strum the chord. If this is the first time you've played a bar chord, or you've not played them that much, you might get some duff sounding strings, or you might find after a while your fingers are getting tired, or maybe cramping up. If any of these things are the case, don't worry. It's all part of the learning process. Just stick with it, your fingers will get stronger and you will gain better control in time. You can actually move this chord anywhere up and down the fretboard, as long as you know the note on the E string. That will be the chord's namesake. So for example, if I were to play this chord and my first finger covered the 3rd fret, I would now have a G major chord. If my first finger covered the 7th fret, I would have a B major chord. So following on from this, let's now look at our E minor open chord. Repeat the same process from using the standard 2nd and 3rd finger to play the chord. Move the fingers round, so we're now using the 3rd and 4th finger. Notice there is nothing in the 1st fret here. Hold that thought for a moment. Now let's move further up the fretboard. This time I'll put my chord fingers both in the 7th fret, and again I'm going to cover the 5th fret with my first finger. Now this chord has become an A minor chord, and again we can move this chord around the fretboard as long as we know the note on the low E string. That is the minor chord name. Notice how there's nothing in the 6th fret here. There was nothing in our 1st fret a moment ago, so our relative shape will also have nothing in that fret. If we think of the 5th fret as where the note was, and our fingers as where the 2nd fret was before. You might also spot from looking at these 2 shapes that the minor shape is the same as the major, just without the 2nd finger. But do take care with this minor shape because you'll be relying on your first finger to sound an extra note on the G string. So you will need to keep enough pressure and also keep this first finger very, very straight. Now let's repeat the same process for the E7 chord. Move our fingers so we use the 2nd and 3rd finger instead of 1st and 2nd. Then we're going to move up to the 6th and 7th fret. Again, we're going to place our first finger on the 5th fret and we're going to bar. And we now have an A7. which again we can move around with the root note again being found on the low E string. In this case, as before, on the 5th fret we'll get an A. Comparing the major shape we did before with the 7th, you may notice that the shapes are the same apart from the 4th finger has been removed for the 7th shape. So we've now covered the 3 bar chords with root notes on the E string, and now we're going to move on to 3 bar chords that have the root notes on the A string. This time let's start with the A minor shape. You'll notice that this chord shape is a match for the E major shape you played earlier. However, it's important not to confuse the two. Although your fingers produce the same shape, they are in fact 2 different chord types. We'll give this chord the same treatment as we did our last set of chords, with our fingers moved around, so we use our 2nd, 3rd and 4th finger. And we'll move the shape, so we're now on the 6th and 7th frets. And we'll cover the 5th fret with our 1st finger again. Now this is where it'll depend on your physical makeup as to where your 1st finger stops covering strings. I personally find it comfortable to cover all the strings just up to the A string, so if you can do that, that's great. If your finger is a bit longer and you find you need to go further and also cover the E string too, this isn't a problem at all, but you don't need to actually include that string when you strum the chord. Strumming the chord we've just fretted will give us a D minor. Our root note now is on the A string, and at the 5th fret that gives us a D. Now let's look at our open A major chord, and this is the only chord in this tutorial I'm going to suggest 3 possible ways to play. If we take our A major open chord and again move all our fingers round, we end up with our 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers. Now let's take that up to the 7th fret, and again we're going to cover at the 5th fret with our 1st finger. This will give us a D major chord. Remember that the root note is now on the A string. But you might have stumbled upon a problem already. And if you were to move your fingers up with this shape to say the 10th fret to play a G chord, you're even more likely to find a problem. Adults in particular, you might find that your fingers simply can't fit inside the same fret at the same time once you get past a certain point on the fretboard. So an alternative way to play this is either using your 3rd finger or your little finger to cover all the notes that your 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers previously were. Now this will take a bit of getting used to, and while it's possible that you can still get the note on the high E string if you use your 3rd finger and really curl it, you will have all the notes that you need for the chord if you were just to play the A, D, G and B strings. So you can make do without playing that high E string. If you use your little finger to cover these strings, it's practically impossible though to get the note on the high E string. Because we don't need them, take care not to include either your low E string or your high E string when you strum this chord if you're using your 3rd or 4th finger to create that 2nd bar. Now we have the A major shape out of the way and it's done and dusted. Let's move on to our final shape for today, which is our A7. Down in open position, we typically play this chord with our 2nd and 3rd finger. So let's move these fingers round. So we'll be using our 3rd and 4th finger now. We'll move these fingers up to the 7th fret once more and we'll cover our 5th fret with our 1st finger. Now our chord is the D7, with the root again being on the A string at the 5th fret. One point I'd like to make about this chord is make sure you are using the 3rd and 4th finger to play it. I have seen people interpret chord books before and try to use their 2nd and 3rd finger while playing this bar chord, but rather them than me is what I'll say about it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not really very comfortable. Let's strum that chord and see what it sounds like. So there we have it, the 6 bar chords that are essential for every guitarist to know. There are of course many others that you can learn, and you will need to in the future, but having just these 6 under your fingers will enable you to play a huge number of songs. The important thing to know are the notes on the E and the A string, as these will give you the root note for the chords that you want to play. So do take the time to memorise these notes. I've made PDFs available for all the 6 chord shapes I've gone through today, as well as a chart for the notes on the E and the A strings for you to find where to play the chords that you need. To get these, check out the description box below for the links. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you liked it, and if you'd like to see more from me in the future, remember to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get an alert when I upload a new video. Give the video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Feel free to leave a comment in the section below with your thoughts. Let me know if this video helped you on your way to becoming a better player. Remember to check out my website at www.wakefieldmusictuition.co.uk for information about my lessons online and in person. And do get in contact with me if there's something you'd like me to cover in a future video. Bye for now.